Honey, what you doing?
Getting ready to clean the chimney, I am.
Are you going to be chimney sweep?
I'm going to be a chimney sweep.
Greetings from Fairfield. We are Richard and Kendra, and we are restoring this cool old Victorian house. We found this old Queen Anne for sale on the internet and decided to buy it. So we moved from the West Coast to the cornfields of Iowa. So join us as we explore and restore this 1896 Victorian mansion.
Hello, everybody. Greetings from Fairfield, and today we are working in the parlor, and we are going to start prepping this wall for the new mantle. Just a quick recap: we had previously peeled back some of the layers of wallpaper here to determine when this happened. Basically, the hole was knocked into the wall in 2002, and it looks like it was sealed up prior to the 1930s when this layer of wallpaper went up. So we're going to start stripping it. All right, so we're going to be using a product called DIF. It's a wallpaper stripper. It's a concentrate. It's a 2-to-1 ratio. Pick it up at your local box store. Can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs, so let's cut some time lapse and start stripping. First layer, got the first layer of wallpaper stripped off. See what it looked like in 1930. Got a lot of really cool detail. It's similar to the wallpaper that we chose. We chose it before we knew what was kind of here. But it's a really neat pattern. There's probably some better areas when I get into stripping the rest of the room that we will probably scan this wallpaper. It might be a good contender to create a stencil and recreate this pattern up on the 3rd floor ballroom. Ta-da! Well, that was pretty easy. I do want to share a little bit of technique that I picked up on after watching a bunch of DIY tutorial videos on YouTube, because this was actually my first wall, and I followed a lot of bad advice trying to remove it until I kind of came up with a technique that would work. One of the most common things that you'll find in any of those videos is how easy they make it look and how the wallpaper looks like it was put up yesterday. And if you've ever removed wallpaper, you know it's never that easy. I've read horror stories of 20 layers of wallpaper trying to peel off, and nothing is working the way the video suggested. And so I'm going to show you and explain why that is. So the one thing that I picked up on that all of the other tutorials videos did when removing the wallpaper, they'd leave out one important detail, and that is how old the wallpaper was and whether or not it was actually paper wallpaper. And there is a difference, because if it's more modern, all the techniques that they're showing you are not really going to work. Or a lot of the older techniques are going to work on newer wallpaper, newer techniques are going to work on older wallpaper. One quick, simple test to know how easy or how hard or what method you should use is pretty simple. A little water or a sponge, either way. If this is paper, it'll change color, which means all you gotta do is spray it. And if it changes color, it's paper. See how the water's just soaking in? You can do it with a sponge too. There you go. That's paper. That'll be super easy to remove. But what if it's not paper? How do you know the difference between this and something that was put up, say, yesterday? Let's find out. This is a vinyl wallpaper. So test. I already know this is vinyl, but I'm going to show. Color test. See, this is vinyl. And it's not really changing color because it's meant to be wiped off. You get something on it. Kind of similar to like paint. Like in a kitchen or a bathroom where you use like a semi-gloss or a gloss on paint so you can wipe it off. You don't put a matte finish in like a, say, a painted wall in your bathroom or kitchen so you can wipe it off. So again, paint strippers and chemicals and all those other techniques that they prefer you to use are not going to work here, because you're not going to get through that. Now there is something you can use that will get you through that, which we're going to cover next. All right, a lot of those tutorials recommend using this. This is called a paper tiger. And it has like little spurs, little sharp spurs here on the back, and you just, use this all over the wall, puts a bunch of cuts all through your wallpaper. This is completely pointless and a big mess and waste of time on just plain old paper wallpaper. This will be necessary for other applications, but if you did the water test and you're doing paper, you don't need this. All right, so this wallpaper, though it doesn't look like wallpaper, is the same wallpaper that is in the parlor that we just easily took off. But because they painted this, your strippers, whether it's chemical or if you're using a steamer, that ain't gonna penetrate that paint and get that off the wall that easy. So that's where your paper tagger comes in handy. You'll cut through that paint. Then you can put your stripper on there, which would probably work better than the steamer, because that steamer is not going to do much to that paint at all. And but in the case of painted wallpaper, you're going to need this. Or in the case of the vinyl wallpaper, you're going to need this, because trying to use a steamer or that chemical is not going to get through that. And so the only way to penetrate through that is to use this guy. Wallpaper. I marked one tip, remove it the way it was put up. Wallpaper is put up vertically, up and down, generally two different sizes, 20-ish inches, 27 inches, okay, across. I put pieces of tape here just to mark where the seams are, because it's probably hard to see that in the video. Work in sections. First section will be your hardest because you need to get to those lines. But you want to start in one section as opposed to like crossing in other sections. All right, this is our DIF, pre-mixed, little, I think it's like a half gallon. That container mixes up to 2 gallons. So for one bottle, you make 2 gallons. This is like a half gallon, so about a quarter bottle with water mixed up into this cheapo sprayer I got at like Walmart for like $5. And you can just spray it on the wall. Pretty easy. And let that soak in. Give it like 5 minutes. Go right over those seams. You can kind of see it there. About a foot at a time. So you don't want that to dry up. And it'll soften up. Now, I took my time with this because I was really interested in seeing what was behind this. You can go a little harder and really saturate the wall and just really get in there and scrape however many layers of wallpaper you have. But keep in mind, just because this top layer might be paper, the one behind it could be vinyl or vice versa. So depending on how many layers you have, I already know I only have 2 layers here. So this isn't, you know, I'm not going to have any surprises. But do a little small test. Test your area. A sharp, stiff, hard putty knife. Nice sharp edge. Also, pick this up at the Walmart. Scouring pad in the cleaning section. I keep this on hand so you can keep your putty knife clean as you're working this because it'll start gumming up. And also use this to remove the residue later on the wall. So it'll come in handy, but went a little hard. But you can see how easy that stuff really works. Just like I almost don't even need the putty knife. Once you get that started, look how pretty that is underneath there. I mean, that was in real time, right? That's how long I let that stuff sit on there. And it just comes right off. Like I said, I'm being careful with that bottom layer because it's just so cool looking. And look, it comes right to that seam. Oh, there's writing on the wall there. I wonder what it says. Look at that. I got, you know, it's a measurement, 16 inches for whatever reason, but that just comes right off. That stuff is awesome. DIF, made by Zinsser? Zinny? I don't know. I'll put a link in the description for what that stuff is, because I'm sure. Look at that big old piece. Look at that. Look at how easy that is. Super simple. That is so cool looking. A lot less damage over here than the fireplace. This wall is probably fairly clean. Yeah, I'm not even using a putty knife. But that's in real time. Whole section. I mean, how cool is that? Turn back time right there. Look at that. Nobody's seen that in 100 years. Ta-da! All right, so I did try a steamer early on and found it to be like not as effective as this. It's also a big mess. It also didn't work on the vinyl wallpaper, and it certainly isn't going to work on the painted wallpaper for the same reason. You can't, that steam is not going to penetrate that vinyl coating or the paint to get to those wallpapers. So again, Steamers, just a big waste of time. And even on this, where it worked, it was just messy. If you want to see what's underneath there, the steamer is going to destroy that. So, you just forget that. If you're interested in seeing what's underneath it, right? But if you're not interested, if you don't really care about the mess or what's underneath it, I mean, the steamer works okay, but the DIF is really far better. It's cheaper and way more effective. And so we still got the rest of the wall to do, but this is what's going in its place. Got the wallpaper removed, and we could see where the wallpaper came down. So the mantle came up fairly high. Looks like at least this far, at least that's where the wallpaper came. The mantle likely, if it matched the one upstairs, would have come all the way to the side of the wall. And then they still wrapped the wallpaper around the edges of the whole thing. We got an impression here. So probably that's the height of the tile. That would match. It's about the same height as the new mantle, actually, now that I'm looking at it. So about that same exposure. Came up to about that high.
What's the spidering?
Just old cracks, patched. This was all patched, previously patched before they wallpapered. That's why we know that this was sealed up sometime in the 1920s. I said 1925, but sometime 1920s, early 1930s maybe, because the wallpaper had gone all the way to the breaks of where it was, that old wallpaper. So we knew once they sealed it, they had wallpapered it with that older paper that that looked like this. Next, we still need to clean it up. We're going to use Pine Sol and a scouring pad to get rid of the residue and whatever remnants of wallpaper are left, which is great because for those that missed that last episode of what our new mantle is going to look like, here's a quick recap. So it should be a perfect match for this fireplace. We'll know for sure if it's wide enough, or if the original mantle was wide enough, next week when we pull up this carpet and look for the evidence of how big the hearth was. So until next time.